Never was there a tale of such lossage as that of the bird, the mouse, and the sausage. Once upon a time, there are three friends who are also housemates: Raven, Field Mouse, and gluten-free vegan sausage, sharing a tiny stone cottage with thatched roof and tall stone chimney. In the backyard there is a deep, dark well of sweet water that has never been known to run dry. Beyond, there is a vast meadow which changes colour daily as flowers bud, bloom, pass over, and give way to grasses waving and rippling all the way to the forested horizon. Our three friends love living in this idyllic place and maintain a most harmonious household, with each assuming responsibility for a particular aspect of their shared life. Raven flies to the far-flung forest, fetches back fuel for the following day, sorts and piles sticks convenient for Field Mouse to light the fire, winch up water, and lay the table for supper, which is cooked by gluten-free vegan sausage, and at this he excels, making the most of his natural attributes, slicing, stirring, seasoning stew, diving in cauldron slithering through, greasing and salting, makes quite a to-do, results delicious and widely acclaimed. Now, a situation so pure, harmonious, and joyful is rare in our world, and seldom seems to last for long. So it is that one morning, some 18 months into their tenure, Raven comes downstairs and steps outside to consider the day whilst stretching his wings. He hops to the compost heap and, passing a small motion, wings up and spirals away. Off to far-flung forest he'll brook no delay, already a speck, cronk, echoing back. He's returning for a third load when he's hailed from below. "Woohoo! Conscientious! Why don't you come on down and dally a while with me?" Raven circles and spots Cuckoo reclining upon a comfy branch in the sun. He alights nearby. She bats her eyelashes. "So what is with all the coming and going, big boy? Is there a significant other Raven back home? Is that what all the toing and froing is about? Just watching you work makes me feel weak." Raven looks at her uncertainly. He's never met one of her kind before. Elegant, sophisticated, her speech full of foreign influence. He sits entranced as she speaks, and when it comes his turn to talk, does so at length, describing his part in the three-part harmony. How he flies to the forest for fuel, snaps sticks and grades them by diameter for Field Mouse. "Ah, mon Dieu, obsessive or what?" No, considerate. Then Field Mouse lights the fire, winches up water from our well, and lays the table for supper, which is cooked by gluten-free vegan sausage. And at this he excels, making the most of his natural attributes. Slicing, stirring, seasoning, stew so succulent. Yes, I'm sure it is delicious. But for myself, I prefer a raw food regime. It is so much more convenient. No cooking, no need for fuel, no washing up. I just fly down occasionally and snatch up a beakful of worms, some eggs, occasional nestlings, some fruit. Then It's back to sunbathing and watching honest folk toil by. I have even farmed out gestation and childcare to others. My life is that of a sybarite. Though I must admit the toing and froing to Africa, whilst still vastly stimulating, it is becoming a little tiring. But hey, what about you? Flying back and forth all day, every day, never seeing anything new, knowing no other life but that of collecting sticks, of which, by the way, I feel you have the short ends. Your friend's tasks are far less onerous and more rewarding. But, hey, it's your life. What do I know? Ah, look at the sun. I must fly, Cuckoo. Thank you for such delightful stories and wise advice. I must go. Goodbye. By the time Raven has found fuel, flown all the far way back across the great meadow, snapped, sorted, stacked sticks, washed his beak, and settled down, he is exhausted, too tired to eat. Fortunately, rich, beguiling vapours creep from the lidded cauldron, seep into his nostrils, across his capillary membrane, and transfuse directly into his blood. He revives and is able to peck a few morsels, which enliven him instantly, and he is soon regaling field mouse and gluten-free vegan sausage with tales of his encounter with Cuckoo and her advice to broaden their horizons before it becomes too late. So I was thinking that perhaps maybe we might try swapping roles just for a bit to see how it goes. That way we could all have new experiences whilst remaining in this house and place that we so love. I'm tired of always fetching fuel in all weathers. My wings ache, and some days my claws won't unclasp. I have to massage them with my beak and then prize each talon. Really, I need a change. Something a little less physical and more mental. Your job would suit me fine, Field Mouse. Well, I wouldn't mind getting outside a bit, piped up gluten-free vegan sausage. I could do with working off some of this fat. Oh, squeaked Field Mouse, that means I'm cook. I love that. I've always watched how you do it, Saucy. Maybe one day, with enough practice, I could get to be so good. Well, with all three friends keen for change, they go to bed early and awake with the cock crow, refreshed and eager to try on their new roles. Gluten-free vegan sausage sets off across the great meadow, eyes open wide, head turning ceaseless side to side. I deserve to saunter on my first day, he thinks. Such a shame to miss all these glorious flowers through haste and impatience. We should all learn to slow down and treat each day as if it might be our last. He wandered on. Back in the tiny stone cottage with thatched roof and tall stone chimney, Raven, flint in claw, striking sparks of pure delight, kindles fire, and by its flickering reflection is drawn to the cutlery. So he lays the table with the silver sausage inherited from great aunt Chipolata, nodding approval of the neatness of his place settings. It's time to fetch water. Seizing a bucket clanking outside, windlass inspected, he gives it a try. Hops up on parapet with beady eye. Seizes Wells' bucket, heaves back with a sigh. Windlass spins round, oh my, bounces with joy. Releases Wells' bucket, head cocked to one side. He's counting quite slowly. It's 5, he decides. Pulls up the bucket, coils trapped with a claw. Fills the house bucket and carries inside, where he encounters field mouse, all of a flap. Oh, Raven, there you are, thank goodness. Oh, the supper's ruined, and I've almost run out of small sticks, and Sausage still isn't back. I'm so worried something dreadful may have happened to him. Would you go and look for him and maybe find a few small sticks while you're about it? Oh, please say you will. I'd be so relieved. Yeah, just chill. I'm going, and I'll find Sausage. He's bound to be lost. Now, relax, no pressure. We can always eat beans on toast. Laters. And off he flies. Far more concerned, guilt-ridden too. I should never have suggested swapping roles. Sausage is such an innocent. You'd think he was raised in a vacuum. Pack it in, you'll spot him soon enough. And sure enough, he does. Much too soon, in fact. Well, one wonder has led to another, and by the time little Sausage reaches the great forest, the sun is high in the sky, and a slight film of perspiration sheens his skin, and a gentle scent of sausage surrounds him. Spotting a large and shady tree, he approaches reverently and sweeps clear a space between great buttress roots up against the trunk. A drop of liquid lands on the back of his neck, and he looks awkwardly round and up into the calculating eyes of a large black dog. "Ooh, Mr. Dog, how nice to meet you. I'm about to rest here in the shade. Will you join me?" And he thrusts out his sweaty little hand. "Gluten-free vegan sausage at your service." The dog sniffs the proffered palm. "What branch of the sausage family did you say you were from?" "Oh, gluten-free vegan." "You sure about that? Not telling porkies? 'Cause to my nose, you smell remarkably like all the other sausages it's been my pleasure to meet. Pray, do excuse my awful manners. Slavering half-breed mongrel, delighted to meet ya." Dog snaps him up, bites him quite in two. Lies there, worrying pieces, sucking out the juices. No, Raven really isn't ready for that at all. Wings flap a holding pattern, claws ceaseless clench unclench, brain stock still, seething beak agape. The voice of Cuckoo floats up. "I'm afraid so. He said he shared house with you just before Dog bit him in two." Raven nods, swivels, and heads home, carrying the awful news to Field Mouse. It will be hard. They'll have to try and support one another and carry on. It's what Sausage would want. Well, what he would have wanted if he wasn't dead. Flapping and mumbling, Raven flies all the way back across the great meadow to the little stone cottage with the thatched roof and tall stone chimney, where Field Mouse has actually managed to relax after Raven went in search of sausage. The trouble with cooking is that it looks so easy, but when you actually come to do it, well, he's always rushing. And then the fire's too fast or too slow, and he gets hot, dashing back and forth. He must be doing something wrong. I mean, hairy bikers never get this flustered. He snaps back to supper and pokes the pot. Too thick, he thinks, and adds water. Seasoning too, stirs and tastes. Getting there, but what's it need? Tongue explores mouth, brain in neutral. Sees sausage, slithering through stew, greasing and salting. Without further ado, the field mouse leaps on to the rim of the cauldron, bends his little mousy legs, and dives into the cauldron of lentil curry, which accepts him seamlessly. A bubble rises and bursts with a tiny squeak of awareness. Sausage was a naked chef, skin slick, no fur upon him. The curry slumps back to a simmer as Raven bursts in, calling for Field Mouse. By the time he has assured himself that Field Mouse is absent, the pot of curry is going dry and no water in the bucket, so he heads outside, hops on the parapet, seizes up the well's bucket, casts it into the deep, dark well and cocks his head to one side, counting quite slowly, 1, 2, snatched from parapet by closing coil. Hears bucket splash, it all goes dark and cold. His struggles cease. Hangs head down in the deep, dark well that never dries. So these are the ends of Raven, Field Mouse, and gluten-free vegan sausage. But not the end of the tale, for the tiny stone cottage with thatched roof and tall stone chimney still stands beside the great meadow that stretches all the way to the forested horizon, where Cuckoo, observing that no smoke comes from across the great meadow, takes a leisurely lunchtime flight in that direction, spots the cottage and alights, pecks at partially open door, calls out thrice, "Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo," but none are home. She pushes in and appraises. This property will do nicely, very nicely, most suitable and convenient. No shortage of handsome young yokels to fetch her firewood and bottled water. An end to all that travelling. No more boarders. A settled, snug old age. Cuckoo chuckles to herself. So easy, just the one tiny seed